Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I will be your speaker for the next few minutes. I expect not to overcome the limit. And I always worry about metrics. What is the success of a presentation? And I decided that if many of you, at least at the end, will be very curious and eventually have just a scent of my enthusiasm about these subjects, I will consider the presentation a success. First thing first, I am deeply honored by this invitation from the University of Hebron. I would like to thank Dr. Mohannad Al-Jabari, Dr. Carol Al-Jabari for the invitations, and I would like to thank you, Dr. Mário Macedo, for all the context he provided me in order to be able to do the presentation. As far as I'm concerned, I kept adapting and learning till today. I went through different avenues, and today I am here representing Quidgest with these disruptive ideas. Well, I should correct, it's not disruptive ideas, but a disruptive reality. And the title of Growth Hacking Manager is precisely to try to erase prejudice from people's minds, because a lot of people is not prepared to accept easily this disruptive reality. As I read many years ago, the real enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, but illusion of knowledge. So bear with me. All of you know about Wally, you know, that comic book that we try to find this man in the middle of a lot of other people. So Wally is the common denominator of the following situations, and we will try to find it. Buildings collapse in earthquakes. It is a fact, not worth going through. People do have difficulty when changing jobs. People work for many years in a job, in a function, and they have difficulties managing different jobs in other companies. The common denominator is still there. Well, if we bang your car, they must take the car to the body shop so that, you know, fix the metal. This is another fact of life. People do have problems in listening. You know, how many of you have tried to pass on an idea or a concept, an opinion to somebody else, and that somebody else do not listen to you? They just create obstacles. This is also an issue. And eventually, things as simple as this. 15 years ago, the video rentals, the videotapes were great business, and they all went out of business because of cable TV. All these things have a common denominator, what it is. So, have we found Wally? It is easy. Rigidity. Everything that was listed before happens because of rigidity, which is, according to Wikipedia, inability to be changed or adapt. And that is very true on software, as we will see in the next few slides. So what are we going to focus on? Not on earthquakes. Absolutely not. Not on body shop repair, although I remember that about 10 years ago, there was this news on the paper saying there is this company that produced this metal alloy that memorized the initial shape. So in case of a bang, the metal would come back to the original shape. That would be very bad news for people like this. So we never heard of it again. Changing jobs. I'm not going to teach you students there how to send your CVs or applications to universities. The only thing I do recommend is, remember, hundreds, thousands of other people are doing exactly the same. And always worry, why should the man reading my CV be curious about me? Must be different. But we will focus on software solutions. These 5 skills, which we will discuss a bit later on are absolutely the essential skills, as far as I'm concerned, for any kind of professional job. But in the context of the disruptive solutions I'm going to present here, they are particularly important. Today's software is absolutely rigid all along. ERPs are some of the rigidest of them all. Two examples. In 2018, a huge global supermarket chain canceled an ERP installation from a very known brand after 7 years of installation and after $500 million being spent. Can you believe this? So I must confess, we are a bit daring in the company. And when I read this, we sent a letter to the CEO of this supermarket company in the original country where the headquarters were, saying, this is not a provocation, but where your present vendor failed, you could have done it very easily. If you are willing, contact us. I sent a letter, I never forget, on the 10th of August of 2018. And by the end of August, I was being contacted by the IT manager in Portugal saying, what have you done? Because I've been asked by the global IT manager that has been asked by the board of directors to contact you. So eventually we start talking. And what I heard was absolutely appalling. The problems was as simple as this. The supermarket chain wanted their stock prices based on the buying prices, and this software was only prepared to do that calculation based on the selling prices. This was one example, but all the others were similar to this simple. But the fact is that vendor was producing software to counteract against their own software. It was a nightmare that ended throwing away 500 million euros. Another example, a big cosmetic company, also around 2018, they lost tens of millions of dollars because the ERP being installed did not produce the correct calculations. For the first time in history, the board of directors was sued by the shareholders. It is unbelievable. And today's software ecosystem is a disaster and will not cope with the challenges ahead. Rigid boxes, rigid, so to speak, best practice, armies of programmers working for months or years are definitely not the correct panacea. But there is a sunny side on the street. And the sunny side is exactly the opposite. Flexibility, easy to use. The users like to do that. The software, they are stimulated to use the software. This is the flexible side. Let's consider this context, which is a real one. The customer is a well-known university based in Portugal. We will know this. 9 faculties, each faculty had its own obsolete ERP. Each ERP is filled with all sorts of data, finance, human resources, asset management, and each ERP is autonomous in their respective faculty. So the flow for approval and invoice of a vendor is not the same in all of them. They're all different. The ERPs obviously would not talk to each other, and they would not provide the supervising foundation with the data they needed to manage the university as a whole. So the university said, this is not the way to go. We will do an international tender to replace everything. Now, replace all the 9 ERPs by only one. Seems logical. But we need to migrate all the existing data from the 9 different and obsolete ERPs to the new one. Of course, that each faculty must keep the autonomy it's used to. So the processes, the flows within each of the faculties must be kept the same, although the ERP is only one for all of them. And at the end of this, aggregated data, processed data must be passed on to the supervising foundation so that global decisions could be made. And they need it very, very fast. This was the scary bit. So, what is your opinion? I've heard that 1.5 to 2 years was reasonable. Let's go back and see the requirements. Replace 9 ERPs by only one. Migrate all the data from all of them. Keep the autonomy and provide aggregated strategic data. So people told me, well, the normal would be somewhere between 1.5 to 2 years. I think 1 year would be fast, very fast. Okay, I do have news for you. We did it in 3 months. I would not dare to show this to you if my statement does not substantiated by this public recognition via a member of the board saying we are congratulating Quidgest because after 3 months is after order, the television were already showing a picture. So no other company in the world, no other can do this. And this is why we are always looking for people to come to us and learn how to make these kind of things possible. We want to share our knowledge. How come this could happen? Easy. On the left side, we have the rigidware. So rigid box software and rules. Companies must obey by the best practices rules that are boxed. And as we saw in the previous example of the supermarket chain, those rules did not apply to the customer. So a lot of code had to be written, and it is a nightmare. So handwriting code, you need to keep learning new languages because the languages evolve. It is a nightmare. On the right side, Brainware, we use models. We will see in a minute what models are. So what the consultant that builds the models is worried about is not about the technology, because the technology is independent. The software will, the platform will create it automatically. It's to build the models according to the needs of this particular customer. We have already in the market 600 plus models, and we did produce a platform that automates software production, like a 3D printer that automatically creates an object based on models. We create lines of code based on models, exactly the same concept. This is an example of the code that comes out of the platform that generates the code. And this platform is always updated for the newest technology. So some years back, it would produce C++ code, then C#, now is .NET MVC. The person doing the models, creating the models, do not have to worry what is the technology that is coming out. So the code is written as written by a human, even commented, because if you look at the code, there are comments there, comments that can be read by any programmer if you like. And the big difference from not all the others low-code platforms of the market, which we will see, it's not really competition. This code is independent from the generating platform and from the generating server. You can take it anywhere and do it whatever you like. So far, are we good? I'm asking this because I sense that many in the audience are half closing their eyes saying, wow, this is far too disruptive. Is this bloke for real? Well, bear with me a few minutes more, please. I have a very good friend, just in case. And just in case told me, what you're talking about is very disruptive. You better have an independent support for your claims. So I did it. By the end of last year, I decided to apply for a paper to a conference. The software engineering conference took place in Mexico, and I challenged to other professors in Portugal, University of Aveiro and the University of Trás-os-Montes, and we presented the paper, peer-reviewed, obviously, and the paper was accepted and is already published. And the title of the paper is the one you see in front of you. It is the recognition that the benefits providing from this, coming out from this platform, are really disruptive. It is hard to accept them easily in the first contact. Function points. If this was a physical meeting in the auditorium, I would ask you people, raise your hand, whoever has ever heard of this, function points. If too many hands was risen up, I would be very embarrassed, because only 1.5 years ago, I was aware of what this was. Sorry. We were contacted by a Brazilian company saying, we need help to create code. And we understand that you can help us. And why do we need help? Because they had 1,200 programmers already, and they were providing software for the federal government and the state governments, and they were accepting orders, but they could not manage more people. So we were talking about our automatic code generating platform. And the only question they ask is, how many function points do you deliver per month? Can the platform deliver per month? Oh God, I don't know. We have to check. So we found out that there is an ISO standard for this, which was exactly republished in 2018. And what it does, function points are a numerical value that somehow transmits the functionality and complexity delivered to the user of the software. So in order for you to have a real idea, a good programmer, good one, during a week's work, typing on the keyboard all day long, by creating forms, buttons, connection to databases, lists, whatever, he produces typically 16 function points a month. Then these so-called low-code companies came along, and they came along very, very nicely, and what they said is absolutely true. We can provide more than 10 times the manual programming functionality. We provide 175 function points a month. Mind you that most of these companies, the code generated still gets attached to the generated platform in order to be used. Okay, so a number of people at Quidgest spent almost a month creating the rules demanded by ISO 24570 in order to calculate what are our function points a month. And the result is 1,330. So what does this mean? Means that for the same amount of time, we can present a much larger complexity and functionality delivered to the user, or for the same amount of complexity or functionality, we can do it in a very, very small fraction of the time of any of the others. This is the beauty of it, and this is what keeps me the president of the fan club of this platform. This extreme low-code name was given by our partner Baker Tilly, which is a global consultancy company that has been presented to the platform, and now it's creating a competence center in Lisbon, precisely supported on Genio, which is the platform, in order to provide solutions to the other Baker Tillys around the world. So not only we have been recognized in the academia, They're scientific papers, but we have been recognized by global consultancy companies. Now, the models we are talking about, it's 4 of them. The interface model. What do you want to see in your screen? What menus, submenus, what buttons, where do the buttons go? What lists, where do the lists go? So you draw graphically what you want to see on the screen. Well, the process model is easy, is what is the information flow supposed to be in order to carry on whatever we need. Business rules model. Each company has its own business rules. And this is why it may be dangerous to sell a fully rigid box to a customer, because if the customer has his own business rules, he may need to change, he would like to change something on the package box. And without being able to work with models, you cannot change anything. Because, you know, the big names in the market, if the customer says my stock price should not be based on the vendor price but on the purchase price, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do that unless you pay us a lot of money for us to change just for you. So these are the 4 basic models. Why is our data model larger in the letters you see on the screen? Because we are absolutely against the process instead of data. A lot of consulting companies will say, I'll go to your company and I will make a survey to see how many processes do you have. It's a never-ending task. Processes have no end. Data models do have, you may have a lot of data types, but it's finite. So we always prefer to support everything on the data model, and from them we control everything. On the sentences above, mass customization, it may seem something that does not make too sense, does it? Because I will explain it this way. We were negotiating an ERP by last summer to a company on the north of the country. And this company asked us to do something they already knew nobody was able to do. They said they produce chemical products. When we finish the product to deliver to a customer of ours, we would like that when the invoice comes out and the delivery note comes out, we do not have to have somebody in the purchasing department typing in the type of product to be delivered and where to find a possible vendor of the transport to issue a purchase order to him. We want everything instantly done. So when the delivery note comes out, the information goes to the purchasing, the procurement software. The procurement software recognizes what chemicals are there, where is the final client location, looks for which vendors obey that kind of chemical and serve that location, and immediately sends out a purchase order. We thought that this customization was so interesting that we decided to let every other customer of ERP use it. This is why we call the mass customization. Say, every time a customer asks for something that is a clever request, we automatically insert it into the next versions that will be replaced under the annual contracts to everybody else. So mass customization is indeed one of our big advantage points.
Dr. Joe?
Yes?
I think we are running out of time, so please.
I will carry on in a minute. So,
okay.
Data over processes, it's what I have told you. For the CEOs, this means a lot of savings of money, 10 times faster, 10 times less resources, 100% interoperable and adaptable. And just let me 3 minutes to take care of this. Timeline of a win for you to understand the beauty of changing models. We went to this public tender, international public tender, everybody was there. In the middle of the procedure of the tender, the jury said, everybody is going to do a proof of concept. We all did. At the very last meeting, us and another company, the jury put in the projector a window and said, it is not exactly this information we want the other one. And it implied a change in the data models. For you programmers changing the data model, if you have 500 lines of code, somebody will have to go through them to see where it affects. The question was, how long will it take for you to change, and how much would it cost to me if I have this solution? The other company answered first and said, we will have to ask our development, we'll come back shortly. While they are talking, our technician was changing the models, regenerated the solution, and when it was our time to answer, he asked for the cable, connect to a computer, and asked, is this what you want? Useless to say that we came out with the order. To take away, Brainware, all of this is the skills I recommend. It is necessary to think differently, and if you really want good solutions and absolutely good, you need to absolutely think differently. Keep adapting. Competition is short-sighted, it is indeed, among individuals, groups, institutions, countries. Collaborate and help. We have been collaborating with consultant customers, regulators, and academia to do a lot of our solutions. And as an individual, always be nice. Time never stops, why should we? This is the last slide. It is absolutely inclusive because we don't need people to know technology. We need people that know their business and modeling that can create the solutions they need to go about their business or to send to. Thank you very much. This was the end of it. I hope to see you shortly, eventually physically in Hebron. Thank you very much.